Good morning and welcome to the conference, and it's a great honor to be here. And we are talking about very exciting topics about healthcare, AI, and impact on cybersecurity in healthcare. And we heard from the previous panel how important it is. All three factors are important. So, AI is changing the game when it comes to healthcare cybersecurity, both for us who are in the healthcare and also for nation-state actors who are on the offense side and planning to cause more harm to the patient with the cybersecurity and ransomware events. Can we have a slide moving? Yeah. Yeah. Just a quick background, I have been in the industry for more than 25 years in multiple industry verticals, with last 15 years focused in the healthcare industry. My current role is Executive Vice President. I deal with information technology, transformation, innovation, data, and cybersecurity. It's a wide responsibility. And I'm part of the Atlantic Health System. It's one of the most largest integrated healthcare system in the US on the East Coast side. We are about 20,000 team members, close to $5 billion in revenue, and we have a network of about close to 6,000 physicians and specialist care team, and we serve approximately 6 to 7 million community members that we serve. We are going to talk about AI and its impact on cybersecurity. Again, AI is a very overused word. We have to understand that AI is not a single technology. It's an ecosystem of technologies. So when we talk about AI, everybody uses it in a very generic form, but it's important to understand how the evolution of AI is happening. AI is not new. It has been there since 1950s. And we started with intelligent automation. These are what we call AI 1.0, where the programming of AI was specifically, explicitly done so that it does what you are telling AI programs to do. Where we are right now, it is more about deterministic and probabilistic. This phase was all about deterministic. You tell technology to do what you need to do, and it will do exactly the same. It's very consistent. But in the later phase, how the technology is evolving is more about probability, where technology is learning about you, about the environment, and then it's making the predictions and the pattern recognition, and it's telling you what you need to do. So there is a huge change in the way these technologies have evolved. We started with speech recognition, machine learning, deep learning, conversational AI, which is, for example, Alexa or Siri. These are some of the conversational platforms that are happening. Come 2022, we talked about generative AI, with OpenAI, ChatGPT, and so many other technologies that are evolving. Right now, what we are going to see in next 12 to 18 months is all about agentic AI. Agentic AI which is going to be, all this till now, all these technologies have been, what they have been doing is making predictions and not taking actions. But agentic AI is the next evolution where the technology will also take action based on what you tell them. So that's a new evolution, and combination of generative AI and agentic AI will lead to what we are calling AGI. It's all about artificial general intelligence. In a simple English, if you have to define AGI, is more about when the AI technologies combinedly, not one singular technology, at least surpasses or meets the human capabilities. It will be multimodal. It will not be just text-based or speech-based. Just like the human brain, we learn through our 5 sense organs. The AGI or the new other technologies that are formulating, they will be multimodal. They can understand image, they can understand audio, they can understand, robotic conversations, multimodal input, and it will generate multimodal output. So that's where we are leaning. Earlier, a few years back, about 24 months back, we were thinking about, the predictions was that it will be available in next 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. No. The technology is moving so fast, then that's 24 to 36 months, AGI will become a reality in some shape or form. So If we are thinking that disruption is happening over here, it's just scratching the surface. Wait for next 24 to 36 months, the ball game will completely change with the new set of technologies. This is again what we talked about, how these technologies are evolving. And beyond AGI is ASI. It is artificial superintelligence. That's where the technology will surpass the human capability, cognitive thinking, reasoning, solving problems. That's how the technology is evolving. But again, as we heard from the previous panel, the AI technologies are transformative. They are disruptive, but it comes up with its own set of challenges. And if those challenges are not addressed, the profound impact of these technologies will have bad consequences also. So that is why we are going to talk about regulations, what is the framework, how do we make sure that these technologies are responsible, secure, safe, and trustworthy. At the same time, the bad actors are not sitting on the line. All these tools and technologies are available to those players as well, nation-state actors. So we are going to see more and more and more advanced cybersecurity threats. And we will talk about it, what kind of cybersecurity threats we are talking about. It will have complete automation. These technologies can lead to a lot of inequities, misdiagnosis, or bias. So there are a lot of challenges that comes with these technologies. And that is the reason why almost every country, every industry vertical is, while they are on their journey of AI, but 70 to 75% of their initiatives, proof of concepts or proof of value, they fail. They never see a day in the light because there is a reason that they don't address the challenges that comes up with AI technologies. So what's the best way to do it? There are several main frameworks, AI frameworks that are evolving through different countries, through different organizations. But what we have followed, is Deloitte framework, where we really talk about how do we build. The core is how do we build trustworthy and responsible AI, which has bias or ethical concerns contained within certain parameters. You cannot eliminate certain kind of risk with AI technologies. And why? Because the fundamental foundation of AI is data. And data is being generated by humans. And humans, all of us, irrespective of where we are coming from, we are inherently biased in some shape or form, whether we know about it or whether we do not know about it. But bias is in our DNA. So you cannot eliminate the bias from the data. But all we can do it is control the bias within certain thresholds so that it's not causing harm to the society or to the people. So this is all about how do we make sure, pay attention to this part, this is very important. I talked about AI, it gets trained on the data. But where new technologies of AI are coming in front is, I talked about agentic AI. Routine AI will be trained on certain aspects of data, but data changes over a period of time. It deteriorates in its value. More and more data sources come into play where AI was not even trained on those. So it will have a degradation of AI performance or pattern recognitions or predictions. So it's very important that these technologies are not just implemented like traditional technologies where you design, build, and implement, and then you forget about it. No, these technologies will require always human in loop. Whether specifically in healthcare, you will have continuous consumer feedback or patient feedback as well as provider feedback. At the end of the day, clinicians are using these technologies. So not only it's important that clinicians and patients are involved in the initial phase of design, build, and implementing, but also once you implement, you have to make sure that there is what we call a term called drift. So there is no data drift or algorithm drift. That means there is no degradation of performance of these technologies when you implement these technologies. We talked about regulations. We heard about from this. Regulation is the most difficult part in AI. On one side, how do you regulate a technology that changes every minute? Whatever news you're seeing for AI, that may not be even 10% of how the technology is advancing. And so many leaders in AI have just said that and made a very prominent comment that AI is the most prominent technology evolution that mankind has ever seen. It is more than internet, it is more than iPhones, it is more than even nuclear technology capabilities. So it is that profound because it is evolving so fast. So it's a challenge for the regulators even, first of all, to understand these technologies and regulate, which is changing every minute. That's one part of the challenge. Second part we will talk about is there is no international cohesion in terms of regulation. There are block of countries that are coming together and they have their own, I would say, priorities of how do you regulate. And their priorities and their focus is very different on how do these technologies should develop. Because at the end of the day, bottom line, all countries are competing for AI dominance. That's the bottom line. It'll have impact on societies, it'll have impact on all the industries, not just healthcare industry. So it is going to change, it is going to have a profound impact on anything and everything that we do. So that's the key goal. This is specifically for startup companies. I know that we heard that a lot of focus is on releasing the product, minimal MVP, minimal viable product. But the game is going to change because more and more I'm very fortunate to work with international federal agencies, state agencies on how to regulate AI and also on the cybersecurity side, but more is coming. Just like GDPR or SOX compliance, all the new technologies, all the new startups, and even the established players will be forced to have at least high level of validation and certification before, specifically in defense industry or healthcare industry, which is more regulated, and it can have a magnificent or profound impact on the people's life, that you will be required to have audits by third-party certifications. Even before MVPs, just releasing the product in the market will change. There will be a concept, what we have released now, security by design, security by default, and security by demand. And we are going to talk about it in a slide. That's going to be mandated for any company, whether it's a already established company or for the startup companies. And next is also before commercial release, validation process will come into play. So this is at a high level how different countries are approaching AI. For United States, it is more about innovation, research, technology dominance, you can say. And it is not a universal approach. They take sector by sector. Healthcare will have different regulation versus finance versus other different industries. Whereas European EU takes a very cohesive approach. And that's why they are leading in GDPR, data privacy protection. And they are taking about risk-based approach, more about ethical standards, more about human rights. So they have a very cohesive approach. And even though I heard from the previous panel that, it is coming up as a one cohesive regulation, but uniqueness of EU is that each country operates in a different way, and their priorities and their regulations and their focus is also different. So that is why it is more challenge for EU to bring everybody together with a common baseline of how the EU AI should be regulated. China has its own different way of focus on how do you use this AI. And this is more about, their national security, technology dominance, and more surveillance. So each country is having their own approach of AI, and that's why sometimes it's the biggest part of the regulations is, do you regulate too early or do you regulate late? Because if you regulate too early, then you kill the potential of innovation that this technology is bringing. You kill the innovation. But if you regulate too late, then the problem is it can already cause some adverse event or loss of life or much more worse events, then it will force you to regulate. But again, even if you regulate late, that may suffice for maybe 2 months, 3 months, because the technology is evolving so fast that your regulations become obsolete too early, too quickly. And next challenge also for regulators is, generally it is done by the governments and by the policy makers. To do the regulation and the policy making, you need to have a AI literacy and AI maturity. And there is only limited pool of people that are available with this kind of a skill set. So, and those are mostly hired by private sector companies. So the government will, or the regulatory bodies will have a challenge in understanding and getting those same resource pool and competing with those big private sector companies to make sure that they are staying up to the standard and up to staying current, ensure that they are making a good, strong, robust policy. We talked about security of design, security of default, and security by demand. I'm extensively involved with these agencies. Security by design means security cannot be an afterthought, that you build a product, you release it, and then you test it and say that is it secure or not. No. It has to be right from the design process and design stage of the product or service that you're trying to build. Security by default is, if I'm a consumer and I'm buying a product or service, I don't have to do research about how do you make sure that I configure this product that I can use safely. Whether it's an iPhone or Android phone, it should come by default out of the box with the most reliable and safe, robust security features and settings out of the box. Security by demand is about by the consumers. Anything that any industry vertical, whether it's healthcare or anybody, consumers will demand that the product or the services is going to be secured. And no longer now, the liability and the accountability of the product and services that are deploying or using AI can be seamlessly just pushed to the consumers. Now, those days are gone. That the companies will be held accountable, whether it's a startup company or a matured company. If they are releasing a product, commercial product or services, they are required to follow these: security by design, security by default, and the accountability or the liability should fall with the consumers. Take an example of autonomous. We are talking about autonomous vehicles. You know, you buy a product, you pay extra premium, and God forbid the autonomous car gets into action. Who's going to be held accountable? Is it the consumer who paid for the premium for the product, or is it going to be somebody who built the product, right? So these are things that are evolving, and it's coming. It's coming at a fast pace where no longer everything can be just pushed to the consumer that, hey, it's your fault. Even though it was an autonomous product, you are responsible or accountable. So after we move on regulation, we talked about framework, we talked about security. What does the company need? Ensure that, how are you testing this AI in your playground, within your IT environment? There are certain things. You have to understand that AI cannot do on its own. You need a partner ecosystem to test. And within your environment, you need a safe AI environment that is not a production environment where you can test directly. You need a de-identified data enclave, because it is all about data and how do you use AI. And then how do you have access control in place so that you can test and do proof of concept or proof of value. I like to say proof of values rather than proof of concept. That how do you test these technologies within the safe environment before you release it in your production environment in your company. And this is how cyber actors are using. It is used for espionage. It is used for surveillance. Every organization has a huge IT portfolio. Surveillance is all about finding vulnerabilities in your attack surface, where you are most vulnerable. So all this is now done complete, what we call kill chain, how cyber actors use, and it is completely automated end to end. No human intervention now. These people, nation-state actors, have become very smart. They have these technologies. They will automatically use this AI technologies to do the surveillance of your technology footprint, find the most vulnerable piece where they can get an entry, select automatically from their toolkit what is the best malware or ransomware that can be selected and can be exploited, that can be used to exploit this vulnerability. Then they propagate. They get more access and privileges while they propagate, and they remain very evasive. Normal technologies cannot detect or find what these technologies are doing. And then you do the ransomware and inject malicious code, and people get into ransomware. This is completely automated. That's where we are. How are we using the defense side? We talked about how these technologies are used by nation-state actors. We cannot sit on the main side in terms of how do we use this technology. But again, remember one thing, odds are always in favor of bad actors. They have to be right only once. We have to be right 1 million times every day, every month to protect those attacks. So key is to use these technologies, move away from the mindset of reactive cybersecurity posture. You have to be proactive in terms of finding the vulnerabilities before the bad actors finds and exploits it, and plug those vulnerabilities. But again, you are dependent on software companies, because most of the time there are zero-day attacks where they are even not aware of they have a vulnerability in their software or hardware. So you are dependent on those companies to send you the security patch, plug those patch, but at least it comes down to 2 or 3 things. mean time to detect and mean time to react. So you have to make sure that you are moving in a proactive manner and you are detecting the vulnerabilities much faster than the bad actors, and then you are doing faster reactions to the findings that you find out. Key is over here, security orchestration, automation response. This is a key area where certain playbooks are created and you automate your responses also through AI. Certain areas you can say that AI, if you find something, do that, don't wait for human intervention. Certain areas, let's say it's Epic or any EHR system that you're doing, you just cannot bring it down automatically because patients are in the surgery 24/7, a lot of deliveries or babies are born, so you have to have a human intervention. So you have to create different playbooks, what actions AI can take and what actions humans can take and what actions can be taken by hybrid mechanism where AI and human interacts with each other. So what do we do in future? Continuous learning, staying in front, and this is not for the weak heart. You need to be very, very strong when you're talking about AI and cybersecurity and protecting your organization. And what's next? This is my last slide again. We have just what we are seeing about AI, cybersecurity. It is just scratching the surface. Wait for next 12 to 18 months. I'm not scaring, but this is a good thing to focus at least what's coming in future and prepare. All these technologies will be acting together, whether it's AGI, natural language, quantum computing, NLP, deep learning, all these technologies will coming together. And they will create much more better, profound impact on the healthcare, but they will make things very complicated in terms of cybersecurity and data protection. So thank you again for listening, and great honor to be here. Thank you.